video, we're gonna talk about how to make him miss you, and we're gonna have two sections. One, the first section is gonna be the go to heaven section, meaning the strategies I'm gonna teach you about how to make a guy miss you is gonna be more from a healthy perspective. The second part, the middle part, is gonna be the going to hell section, where for all the cabeza dura, for all the hard-headed fans that I have out there, I will teach you guys how to make a guy miss you who is more toxic or more on and off relationship. This is more the Bronx section. And towards the end, I'm gonna teach you guys how to develop emotionally to allow him to miss you, to be able to give a guy space. Because sometimes it's easier said than done. I tell you guys, create space, but your compulsive, your needy, creepy compulsions to not give a guy space tells you to do otherwise. And it becomes very difficult to apply this. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do that, okay? And then towards the end of the video, hopefully this is something that you guys can use in your life, okay? And if you guys want one-on-one coaching, go to mindforattraction.org. And don't forget, we're having a new course called the Commitment Formula. It actually applies with what this video has to say. So with that being said, you can pre-order it under the description down below. And this is my new channel. Hit the like button and subscribe. It's a new channel. You guys need to like the video. I want to see 10 to 1 likes. Y'all gotta like it or else I'm closing the channel. All right, let's start. What do I mean by let him miss you? If you're dating a guy who's dopamine driven, who never felt a strong, safe connection with their parents, they could grow up to be dopamine freaks, right? People who are highly stimulated and need stimulation. These people get bored very easily. They have a lot of energy. And the problem with them is that they need stimulation to get their attention. And with that comes high intelligence, actually, because they get bored easily, they're very curious, and they have an open mind to new things. Now, you can see how having a boring, healthy relationship with people like this can be very difficult because they need to be stimulated. You need to perform to make them miss you. You need to apply strategies. Your mere silent, boring presence isn't stimulating them enough to keep their attention. They have a lot of anxiety, and that anxiety causes them to not be able to relax. Their brain cannot release GABA, which allows them to relax around you and build a bond. When he's relaxed, then he could actually engage with you in a boring way without needing stimulation. What do I mean boring way? Well, just you being there is enough. He feels like, you know that feeling when you go to a new land and then you come back home and you're like, home. That's him missing you. But guess what? Home didn't do nothing. In fact, you were other places that looked more interesting than home. It just wasn't home. You don't have that oxytocin connection with it. You build that home, which is the non-stimulating way of making somebody miss you. You build that through boring time. But some guys are not, because of just anxiety and unmet needs. They don't know how to handle that. And so they'll sabotage it, right? So don't try to make a man miss you through stimulation. Don't try to make him miss you through making him being jealous. No, you do that through boring time. How do you do boring time? Let me show you how to do it. Let's go over here. There we are. Okay. There you are, people. So how do you do? Well, the first one is boring time. What's boring time? When you were a creepy little child, you spent time with your family. You went on a walk, you had dinner, and each walk, each dinner looked insignificant. But over the years, as you get older, you move on from that phase, you think back to those moments, and they feel precious. That boring time, as time passes by, begins to have a different quality. What's that? Nostalgia. Those memories will have strong oxytocin, warm, fuzzy feeling connection. So they don't miss your stimulation. They miss spending simple moments together. An example is like your dog. You walk your dog, you give him food. You feel good. You don't get dopamine, but you get dopamine, but you also feel a connection, right? Dog walks away, you go away to another country, and you miss your dog. You don't miss your dog actually because of the backflips he does. You miss him because you were able to read a book while he was there. You were able to watch a movie and you knew he was there. Boring time. And those moments is what your brain holds on to. Why? The brain uses those memories to create more exaggerated memories. Boring time is like raw footage that you could convert into anything. It has a full range of colors. You could format it in as many different ways as possible. It's like raw material, right? That's what boring time does. And your brain uses that information to build up an image of this person that you could feel safe and comfortable around. And that, using those boring memories and converting them into crazy, beautiful memories that you incorrectly recall, right? That's it's what creates the love, the connection, a desire to relive it. That desire to relive it becomes the stimulation. But you don't stimulate it. You're just there, like a statue, right? Boring time is a way to suss out the men whose weakness is novelty and needing stimulation. Some men, let's go inside. You might seem boring to some guys. Now look, if you're in the Bronx and you have an on and off relationship, this is not it. Because you have to make him miss you. He needs stimulation. Your presence is not enough. It's not a problem of you, but really it's a problem of them not being able to appreciate good things. It's like health. Just because you can't appreciate your health doesn't mean health matters, right? Some people, some guys are just too immature to be able to appreciate a woman who fills them up inside in a slow and prolonged way. They need quickness. You know, there's too much anxiety, and soft, prolonged love is not enough to hide their pain. So that's why you gotta be careful with men who need constant stimulation and who need drama for you to stay relevant in their lives. Boring time is what builds the solid, airtight connection. Not that he has to be relaxed, right? So what do I mean by that? Let's go inside, people, right? Sorry, people. If you don't want to watch this, just skip it by. It's gonna be like 2 minutes, and if not, I hope you enjoy it. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, you could pre-order my new course, The Commitment Formula. It's pretty much a course that I created that will break the patterns of you attracting guys that are not ready for commitment or commitmentful, because a lot of times it is a pattern. Heal your energy from bitterness from men putting you in situationships and just attract emotionally available men. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can pre-order it right now and get it at a discount. This course is pretty much for women who are tired of situationships. If you keep meeting the wrong guys that always ghost, or they're not ready to commit, or if you give too much too soon, or if you're exhausted from heartbreaks, or if you feel lonely because you keep holding your standards, sometimes you got to do it the right way, and most likely you're doing the wrong thing. Okay. And this course is all about not having any gimmicks. This course will naturally attract guys that want to commit. And if you guys don't believe me, check out the testimonies on this. Every one of my course has always led to satisfaction. Most people don't ask for refunds because of just how great the courses are. And with this course comes a few things. One, you'll learn why men are drawn to strengths, right? And why weakness repels them, and how to radiate the proper strength that gets a guy to take you seriously, right? You'll be able to, above all, to show confidence without trying. A lot of the times it's very difficult to show a guy that you're willing to walk away when you're not willing to walk away, right? And I'll show you all of the red flags, the wrong guys that always comes to you whenever you feel weak, how to identify the guys that want to take advantage of you. And above all, it will teach you guys just how to attract commitment. I guarantee that if you do what this course says, you will find someone who likes you for you, okay? And if you don't like it, you'll get your money back. So click on the description down below, right? Pre-order it right now and you'll get it straight to your inbox. It should be out by the end of January next year. Okay, so 2026, it should be out by that year. Okay. Anyways, I'll see you guys inside. Take care. Sorry, people. If you guys don't know, what I do sometimes is like I like to make videos in different houses. You know, it's true. I like to make videos in different houses, so that's why you guys might see Father Alex always doing something, packing up. Well, let's pack up, right? So what do I mean by boring time is what creates these connections? Well, what happens is that boring time just gets them used to you, right? So every day they see you, they start to almost like, it's like the furniture in the room, right? When you see a certain furniture in the room, you don't notice that your brain is getting used to seeing it and it begins to expect it. And so emotionally, you begin to rely on the predictability of this person being there. Like you almost feel like, it's like when you work with people and at first you don't know them, but there comes a moment in time when you sort of realize, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I kind of like these people. These people are kind of cool, right? You're working together, you're not aware of what's happening, but you're spending time together. And your brains almost start to like link up because of just the constant presence. If you guys are touching each other, caressing each other, being there with each other, especially if there are stressful moments and they come back to you and talk about it and feel relaxed, it's not a stimulation. For example, I'm stressed, I go smoke weed, stimulation. I'm stressed, I go talk to my girl, she caresses me, she tells me good things. One was stimulation, right? A lot of dopamine, but the other one also had a connection, vasopressin, oxytocin, dopamine, right? There's more nurturing your spirit. And the thing about it is that if you're somebody who's overly stimulated, you may not notice it. For example, it's like somebody who only eats, who eats food with a lot of sugar or with a lot of salt. Your senses are so stimulated that when somebody cooks with a healthy amount of salt, you may not be able to taste it right. But the beauty is that over time, you start to enjoy that food that you used to find boring. That means your brain is reacclimating. It's becoming normal. And some guys need so much stimulation that something that is that slow and that slow dripping, they may lose interest, they may cheat, they may find somebody else. Or when they have a dopamine crash out and they rely on dopamine, meaning you got to do something to make them miss you, eventually you don't stimulate that emotion, that dopamine. And so now you may have to overperform, maybe spice things up. When in reality, the problem is not the fact that you're boring. The problem is that they're relying on stimulation to connect with you. Just like they rely on everything on stimulation. And that causes you to perform. And when they lose interest in you, they think you did something wrong. Humans, by their very nature, if you just be there, over time, people get used to you. If a man cannot get used to your boring presence, it's not going to last too long. It's just not going to last too long, right? I was thinking of something that was very important. Boring presence, having to perform. And what it does is that when you feel like you have to like perform to do that, your personality changes actually. You start to walk on eggshells, right? You don't want to, you start to do things so that you don't offend him, right? And that is a very difficult place to be in. Because like I said, you're not being yourself, right? You're performing. And what happens over time, you'll develop resentment Because you'll see your girlfriend with her boyfriend and she doesn't have to perform. And he treats her like a queen. I'm telling you, over the years, I'm starting to believe with relationships, so much depends on the guys that you choose. I'm telling you, man, so much depends on it. Because with some guys, you will never be enough for those guys. How? Well, those are the types of guys who work to have a dream, they fulfill their dream, and they realize they're still unhappy. They get a girl, she's great, and they realize they don't stay interested long term. What's going on there? What's really happening is that these people are empty on the inside. They are sad. They are sad and miserable. And rather than connecting with another human being, they prefer to have their distance and stimulate themselves as a way to replace connection. Maybe they weren't loved as children. Maybe they felt like their family was chaotic, and so they internally pulled away. They got into their own heads. They didn't spend time with the family. And they developed a character that liked to be alone, that liked to be self-reliant, that they don't depend on other people. And that causes you to fix your problems and not ask for help, right? And that causes you to have a lack of just human connection. When you don't reach out, when you don't trust, you start to over-rely on dopamine rather than oxytocin and through vasopressin. You start to rely on yourself for your happiness. And any woman who's with that guy will feel that reality, and her self-esteem will lower. And she'll feel like she has to stimulate him to keep him interested because so many women want him. Let him miss you. Spend boring time. Let his brain do the dirty work for you. You want to accept it that if he can't fall in love through this process, you saved yourself the time. Because that guy will eventually underappreciate a good woman. I'm telling you, man. All right, let's continue. So what happens if you spend boring time with him and he doesn't miss you? You know, what happens if you give him space and he doesn't miss you? Well, if they don't miss you, that means they just didn't deserve you. You got to understand this. Listen, people. Listen. You know how they say health is wasted on the youth, right? Sometimes some people can't recognize your value because they're just in a dopaminergic state of mind. Somebody who's into high dopamine food, who are always giving into their cravings, who always need the best meal, who have such a high tolerance for their taste buds, cannot appreciate the food that will keep them alive and keep them healthy. They're only gonna value what kills them. So what the hell are you gonna do if you're an apple and fucking Bob the 300-pound dude doesn't want to eat you? What are you gonna do? That's his laws, not your laws. So you have to internalize that. They will regret it. And they will regret it because if you have that mindset, what's going to happen is that you're naturally going to move on. Listen, securely attached people move on. Insecurely attached people don't move on. It's just how that works. We're going to talk about why you have this compulsive need to get him to miss you, why this, and what to do about it. But generally speaking, if they don't miss you, they just don't deserve you. Especially if you're in the mindset of creating a connection in a slow, boring way. When you do that, like you just filter out the toxic motherfucker. You're like a filtering system. And sometimes a loss seems like a win, but it's only a loss temporarily because of your compulsive desire to escape pain. It feels like a loss. But what happens is that you stop hurting yourself. You stop re-triggering yourself. You're going to allow your mind to recover. And eventually, you're going to find these types of relationships more nurturing long term. But if you keep getting yourself in the gutter with people who don't deserve you, trying to change them, you're only intensifying the needy creepiness. Needy creepiness is a mental disease that progresses over time. You get more creepy over time. You get more needy over time, more blind. You know, you got to see it that way. You're looking for something long term. People who don't value a slow, steady life die young. They have a lot of dysfunction. You know, that's why meditation is so important. Meditation teaches you how to slow down, how to find happiness in the little things. A man cannot really appreciate you if he doesn't have the mental calmness to appreciate little moments. He has to have the best sex, the best money, the best houses, the best this. He can't appreciate things in a simplistically raw way. And so you have to perform. You have to be larger than life. You can't really be yourself. And you know what happens? That performance increases that anxiety. The anxiety you think your performance takes away. And this only attracts fake, avoidant, or not even just avoidant, but just men who are unethical into your life because they see that as a vulnerability. Secure men will see that, and depending on how you behave, but secure men are the ones that get turned off, not the most, in my opinion, but they have the higher standard. They have a more tolerance for boring time, which means that they have the capacity to fall in love with you, not with a mental image. Never let a man form a mental image of you and love that. Dissipate, destroy that mental image through consistent presence. And all he's going to be left with is you. And that may not be the exorbitant reaction. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It might be a very like subtle thing. But over the long term, it increases and it actually heals you because you're seen. So how do you make a toxic guy miss you? To play in the game. Now, when I mean toxic, what do I mean toxic, right? Because the truth is that if you're in an on and off relationship, you're also the toxic one, right? Let's just keep it real. If the guy is inconsistent, if there's lack of empathy for each other, consistent fighting, and there's a lot of highs and a lot of lows, just drama and a lack of vulnerability, both of you guys or one or the other is walking on eggshells, well, you got to play the dirty game with them. And with those guys, you don't let them miss you. You stimulate the missing. And what do you stimulate? Well, what we talked about earlier. You stimulate the emptiness, the insecurity, the low self-worth. And unfortunately, what that does is that it creates a spiral of low self-worth from both of you guys that you guys could become trauma bonded. And with that trauma bond, there's no stability, there's no relaxation, but my Lord, is there stimulation. So how do you do that? Well, you trigger every man's insecurity, and that's one, through sexual competition. You put them in a sexually competitive state, okay? Let's talk about that. I'm in a sexually competitive state is all about just having the presence of other men in your life, right? And the problem with this one is that if there's a lack of trust, this can get crazy. This can get really toxic. But if you're using that just for leverage, it's really just having a life where you have other men in your life. Sorry about that, people. Right? You have other men in your life. And then you just let his imagination do the dirty work for you. Like, it's really that simple. Like, it's not, you're like, but what about the backflip and the spin Rooney? Listen, you're dealing with the male ego, and it's very fragile. And it always assumes the worst, okay? If you just talk about other guys in your life, non-sexually, oh, yeah, I have a teacher. He's Pedro, the fucking South American, right? Or you have your favorite artist is a guy, for example. If you're in an on and off relationship where you keep talking about, maybe you're dating a white guy, you keep talking about how fucking beautiful Michael Jordan is. I don't give a fuck, right? Like, I know it sounds silly, but literally that will create a sense of insecurity in the guy. Especially if he's out of shape. This is actually a big one. Guys that are out of shape, if you admire guys that are in shape, I swear to God, that guy will start working out. He'll start signing up for the gym, right? So it's almost like subtle subtly comparing him, just literally talking about other guys. I swear to God, like I know, like I wish I could sound more profound, but really seriously, like if a guy sees you smiling at another guy that he thinks is more attractive to him, it will create that sense of insecurity, and he will miss you out of ego. Right? He'll miss you out of ego, right? And so it's more compulsive. It's more dehumanizing. When I say dehumanizing, I mean he's not missing you because he knows you and because he has comfort and because he has sensed your mothering energy. He misses you because you stimulate him to go from unhappiness to high or happiness, and he misses the stimulation. If he could get it from somebody else, he would. But that's a lot of the times that toxic situations do that. Now, why do I say if you could get it from somebody else? Because people resent the other partner when you're in a situation where you can't predict them. People resent the other partner when the whole dynamic inflicts pain. It's embarrassing. And so they resent you for it. Right? And so they come to you reluctantly, even though they like you, but they do it reluctantly. A part of them want to hurt you. A part of them want to make things equal. Right? And so that cycle of each hurting each other creates a cycle of ego obsession, where you want to go back because if they're able to hurt you, then that means they're able to provide pleasure. So whenever they feel stressed because you provide such a high in your absence, they're going to miss you. The problem is that in those situations, when you all of a sudden want to be more vulnerable, more open, they might get turned off. Or you might have been conditioned to not be open. And so you sort of, because of just the whole dating way, the way people date like walking on eggshells, it becomes difficult to open up because you feel like if you do that, you might lose them. Well, guess what? Maybe. Because he might be the type of person that might not be good at being vulnerable. A man will miss your vulnerability, your openness. A toxic man will use that against you. And a guy that is really looking for stimulation will use it against you. When you provide so much dopamine without the emotional connection, it's very hard to not see you as an object. So, what do you do with the because sometimes when you try this method of just letting them miss you and not doing too much, it can feel like you don't have control. In fact, it might increase the compulsion to do the opposite of what I'm saying. Well, before I teach you guys how to do this, let me read to you something about the very nature of emotions, okay, to help you understand this. Because I wrote this and it says like deep compulsive desire, and it could be with anything, right? It could be the desire to not give the guy space, because sometimes you use these types of relationships as a way to cope with like intense emotions, right? So that compulsion is often less about the thing itself, meaning, oh my God, I don't know if he misses me. Oh my God, he hasn't called me. Is he gonna call me? Oh my God, let me text him. All of those things that causes you to be too overbearing, too needy, too creepy, it has nothing to do with him, because it could be switched to anything. It could be literally switched to anything, right? This compulsive desire is more about how a person feels about themselves, right? When self-esteem is low. Now, what does that mean, self-esteem? Well, self-esteem is pretty much how do you feel about yourself, or how does your body and mind react to whenever you feel bad about yourself. And let me give an example. When you feel bad about yourself, you could think about you could think about the love that your parents have for you. You could think about the love that your friends have for you, and that can create good fuzzy feelings that can make you feel at peace. Or if you didn't have those fuzzy feelings when you were a child, if your parents didn't soothe you and gave you that relaxing love, your brain is not going to create that as an adult. It needed to happen as a child. Now you could relearn that, But generally speaking, when you don't have that foundation of self-esteem, meaning baby cries, mommy goes there, daddy goes there, it makes baby happy. Baby feels happy, warm feelings. And that happens often. Adult baby all of a sudden cries, your body was trained to feel fuzzy feelings. And so those neural pathways have been created through your parents giving it to you. Like you create the neural pathway of going from unhappiness to happiness. If those neural pathways are not created, your brain will result to escapism, will result to needing to control your experience. So usually stimulation could be drugs, could be food, could be porn, could be love from somebody else who's not stable. When self-esteem is low, so remember, low self-esteem, it's just that your body doesn't have the capacity to make itself feel better without you needing to stimulate it with other things. The inner sense of lack creates psychological hunger or illusions of lack. A feeling of I am not enough as I am. Desire then becomes a way to try to repair that feeling from the outside. The mind attaches hope to people, success, attention, love, money, validation, believing that acquiring them will help resolve the inner conflict. Well, when you were a creepy little baby, you don't remember why you feel empty, right? When those experiences were happening, your frontal cortex was not fully formed. And so you can't create concrete memories that allows you to remember why you feel that way. You just always felt that sense of lack, that sense of anxiety that, you know what, people in secure attached households never feel. So they don't have those compulsions to overly extend itself to seek validation from the outside, to seek stimulation. They don't have those compulsions because those compulsions are really just low self-esteem, which means the neural pathways of unhappiness to happiness weren't formed because your parents maybe weren't there or because they weren't patient enough to soothe you. The mind attaches hope to people's success, attention, love, money, validation, believing that acquiring them will finally resolve the inner deficit. In this way, desire is frequently fueled not by genuine preference, but by unhappiness seeking relief. And a lot of the times you don't know that you're doing that. You're just going off of your instincts. The stronger and the more desperate the desire, the more it can signal an attempt to escape discomfort, emptiness, or self-doubt. Rather than coming from abundance, it comes to perceived insufficiency, the belief that something external must be obtained to finally feel whole, worthy, or at peace. When self-worth rises, desire often becomes calmer and more selective because it is no longer driven by the need to feel an internal void. That's why I tell you guys, check out my course, Emotional Mastery. It talks a lot about that. Or check out a free meditation retreat by going to dharma.org. Well, what's happening is that unconscious, unprocessed emotions, they start to create illusions. And the illusion is the source of those emotions, meaning you start to think that if you're not conscious of those emotions, and you're not aware of it, meaning you might have anger issues, but you don't notice it because you feel depression, you interpret it as depression. Those unconscious emotions will manifest itself in illusions that solving those illusions will not fix a problem. In fact, solving those illusions will actually increase the problem. It's almost like a pimple. If you pop the pimple, you make it worse, even though it seems like you're popping it. So an example is because remember, I used to work in drug therapy. If a crackhead is doing crack and he wants to stop doing crack, and no, don't worry, no problem, and he'll think that doing the crack will relieve the anxiety. When in reality, the crack is what creates the anxiety in order for him to feel the pressure, the pleasure, right? Acting on he thinks he wants crack, he actually wants love. And so doing the crack actually isolates him. They actually become more isolated. In recovery, what they teach them is being more social. So that means they get a sponsor. What does that mean? They talk to someone, they open up They talk about their innermost lives, and the sponsor doesn't judge them. The sponsor accepts them as they are. Now they're starting to create connections, right? They hang around other people who are trying to recover. They feel empathy. They feel understood. They feel loved. They feel accepted. They go to the group. They start to have friends. That happens often. Now all of a sudden, they feel loved. And if they keep going to those groups, keep going to the therapy, keep going to the counseling, and you don't act on those illusions, meaning I need crack in order to feel better, what happens is that you're no problem, don't worry about it, you're good. What happens is that you're addressing the core, and the compulsions to do crack will lower over time, because you're actually addressing the fact that this person needs to feel loved and accepted. Once they feel those oxytocin, once they feel connected to more people, they don't feel alone, those compulsions go away over time. You know? So the point of all of this is to realize that you need to develop that self-esteem. And usually that happens through one, not isolate. No, worry about it. No, you're good. Yeah, not the book. Just keep passing. You're good. By observing those emotions, right? And not being alone. Like, so many people isolate themselves in relationships that they lose the capacity to deal with their emotions because they just isolate themselves and they just focus on the relationship. Those are the love addicts. Other ways is through meditation, right? Observing those emotions, and the meditative process increases your frontal cortex and increases your capacity to deal with intense emotions. But also it decreases the activity of the amygdala, which controls which is what causes you to feel those compulsive desires, right? And so when you do that, when you increase your frontal cortex through meditation or through prayer or through literally socializing and not being alone, it gives you the capacity to give this person space, right? And it also allows you, it also decreases those mental fantasies, meaning, oh my God, they're gonna find somebody, or oh my God, they're not gonna miss me. Those are all just projections of fear, which is usually stimulated by the amygdala. Don't worry about it, man. By the amygdala. When you become more rational, you start to realize, what Father Alex says is true. It is true, right? People do fall in love through creating space. People do fall in love through boring time. You'll start to observe that in your life, because this makes common sense. But the insecure, low self-worth human ego cannot accept what I'm saying, because it risks its existence. It thrives on illusion, right? And the ego is the very thing that's going to cause you to, it's the very thing that's going to get in the way of having a good relationship, right? So practice consistent meditation. Don't be alone. Focus on having some connections, real close ones though, like actual friends, right? Don't worry about it. You're good, man. Yeah, you're good, girl. Because if you don't do that, you just become emotionally more weaker. Check out the meditation retreats, Vipassana. If you don't want to do that, join a meditation group. Remember the social part. Join a meditation group. And if you struggle with all of this, see a therapist. Those things will give you the bond and the self-esteem, right? Being social. All right. Anyways, okay, yeah. Dog. At the end of the day, it's like growing a plant. Love, actual love, happens in a slow way with no effort. You put the plant, you can't stretch the fucking plant to grow. You gotta water it, have good soil, have good sunlight, and let life do its job. You're not here to force the issue. Anytime you see anybody trying to force the issue through the going to hell section, it may not work out. It's stimulating. Oh boy, is it fun, and boy, is it sweet. But boy, is it bittersweet at the end. It just creates so many problems, and it makes, when you get so stimulated through toxic relationships, you forget how much time you're wasting. That's a problem. Toxic relationships and just highly addictive relationships make time pass so fast that you waste your time. That's what happens. That's what happens. Now, I know you guys like that video, right? But the problem is that most likely you're watching my videos very scattered. and you're understanding the information, but you might be getting information overload because you might be watching a video for this, but then a video for that. Sometimes it's best to just purchase the systems that I have that will give you more clarity. For example, I have the psychological game of attraction, which is a system that I have for women who are single, and it'll teach you how to go from single to relationship, and it'll give you everything that I know you're going to encounter, like any objections, what to do when someone's pulling away, when it's time to open up, when it's time to close down, how to punish people for disrespect, how to find out if somebody genuinely likes you. You get all of that in that system rather than watching all of my videos. It's actually a more efficient way of learning. I also have natural chemistry, which is a course that I created for women who are in a relationship and want to strengthen their relationship. So if you're a nice girl, if you lack assertiveness, if you're the type of person that doesn't have respect in their relationship, well, then natural chemistry is the course for you. After that, we have the feminine woman, which is a self-help course for women in order to help you guys develop more emotional strength, to develop a meditation practice, to set and achieve your goals. I also teach you guys my manifestation technique that has literally manifested what I have today, right? So remember, in these systems, you get the for women who are single, psychological game of attraction, women who are in relationship, and the feminine woman, right? Each course is $99 each, right? So if you purchase them individually, they'll be $400. $300. But with the bundle, you get them at $249, right? So just click on the description down below, and is a lifetime guarantee. So you can keep it forever. And if you don't like it, you have a 30-day money back guarantee, right? On top of that, we also sell them with the bonuses, right? Social mastery, and it's just a bunch of bonuses that I have, which is almost like double the material of the course. So it's a really good way to get a lot of value from it. And it's a great way to support the channel. So you can click on the description down below where it says purchase the fundamentals, and I'll see you guys inside. Take care.